special Making Stories podcast episode / yarn video. I'm Hanna Lisa, one half of Making Stories, and today you have me all for yourself, my wonderful colleague Claire, who usually joins me for our podcast episodes, won't be joining us today. She's in the very, very deep sort of prep work for our pop-up shop that is launching today, and also another project that we'll be able to share with you very, very soon. This is a very special video. We asked you in our last podcast episode if you wanted to have a deep dive video into the yarns that we're going to be offering from today onwards, and a lot of you said yes, so that's what we're doing today. A little recap: if you're new to this channel, welcome. Also welcome back to everyone who's been watching before. We're Making Stories. We're a knitting company focused on all things sustainability. We publish a magazine twice a year, Making Stories magazine, that you know us by or might know us by. And we're also now offering curated, sustainably produced yarns in our shop. For the first sort of foray into the selling yarn world, we've chosen a pop-up shop format. So all of the yarns that I'll be showing you will be available from today, that is June 22nd, until July 4th. We're working with 5 super special yarn companies for this iteration, and what you can expect from the next, I'd say, 30 to 45 minutes or so is a look at all of the yarns and colorways that we're offering, and a little bit of an insight into which patterns they might be good for. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, your whip, and settle in. I want to start with the yarn company that is sort of closest to me in location. As you might know, I'm based in Berlin, Germany, and the dyer that I want to start with is Wool and Twine, Euless from Hamburg. Euless yarns are all naturally dyed, and she takes super good care in selecting the bases that she works with. She dyes mostly on bases that have been sourced here in Germany. She even has some specifically spun up for her, and I'm super excited to be offering her yarns because they are beautiful. They're right up our alley in terms of the ethos behind them, and Euless is a super wonderful person at that. We'll have 2 bases in the shop from Euless yarns. The first one is her rustic merino worsted that we'll have in 4 colorways. We'll have 2 undyed ones. So this one here, the lighter gray one, is fossil, and it is a super lovely, I hope it's picking up. It is a super lovely light heathered gray, a little bit on the cooler side when it comes to the color spectrum, and it's an absolutely stunning yarn. The other undyed colorway that we'll have is called Charcoal, and it's basically the darker cousin of fossil. So this is a really dark gray with a little bit of lighter gray mixed in. So I think if you knit this up into a sweater, it gives this beautiful heathery effect without being too crazy. And yeah, I think both of them are stunning. We're adding 2 more dyed colorways of the rustic merino worsted. We'll have this super gorgeous yellow golden colorway called Leaves, and this dusty pink called Mountain Rose. Both of them are dyed on a gray base. I believe they're dyed on fossil, which gives them this really nice heathery depth, so you can see the little flecks of darker color in there. And I just love it when a dyer dyes on a gray base, because I think it gives all of the colors so much more depth and also vibrancy. If that is a word, is that a word? I don't know. So those are the 4 colorways of rustic merino worsted that we'll have in the shop. It is a worsted weight woolen spun 2-ply yarn, and it comes in at 225 meters per 100 grams. I think this would be perfect for any type of color work, and that's also the reason why we chose to have undyed and dyed shades. So I love that color combination, for example. Is that stunning? Great for example, a Euless sweater, I think, by Isabel Kremer. But I couldn't resist in swatching something else other than color work for this. So I swatched 2 different things for this yarn. I swatched, I swatched stockinette in these 2 colors. So you can see, you can see it has what I really like. It has good stitch definition, but also a little bit of blur. And I really love that because I think even if you just knit a plain stockinette sweater in this, it would be gorgeous. Then I swatched this cable pattern. Let me show you. This is the cable pattern from my Multitudes hat that was originally published in issue 4 and is also available as an individual download. And I think that would be a perfect fit for the rustic merino worsted by Wool and Twine. I love how the cables show up really well, but it's also a super nice fabric for a hat. It's going to keep your hat super, super warm, and it would make for a great gift knit. So Multitudes hat would be a great pattern option. The other one that I couldn't resist was this. I made a mini version of Ash Alberg's acorn shawl from issue 4 also, which is a super lovely lace shawl knit up in a rustic sort of heavier weight yarn. And I just love how this works up. It's so good. I love how it shows up the stitch pattern without it being too obvious. And honestly, I made the mini shawl, but I just wanted to keep knitting. So if you are into sort of rustic, more rustic lace and in the market for a shawl, Ash Alberg's Acorn Shawl issue 4 would be a great option for the rustic merino worsted as well. The second base that we'll have of the Wool and Twine yarns is something that I'm super happy about, because a lot of you know that I am a very dedicated sock knitter. I love knitting socks, and sock sets have always held a special place in my heart. And I'm so happy that Euless worked with us on developing 3 sock sets for the pop-up shop launch. Aren't they gorgeous? So these sock sets are on her sustainable sock base, which is 300 meters on 120 grams. And that's exactly what you get in this. So you get a 100 gram main color and a 20 gram mini skein that is perfect for contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes, or a few stripes. And the sock sets are big enough for any of our sock patterns in any of the sizes, which I also think is great. We'll have 3 different sock sets. This one is called Raspberry. Oh, it's not focusing. Now it's focusing. And it is a light pink speckled with hot pink and darker pink color. And then as a contrasting mini, we'll have this beautiful spring green. So I love this because it is inspired by raspberry bushes, but it also reminds me of, summer blooms, especially if you're out and there are just these hot pink and light pink blooms on green grass. And I think it's a super, super pretty color combination. The second one that Euless dyed up for us is called Amethyst. And this is a wonderful taupey beige colorway speckled with a dark blue, as you can see here. And the dark blue is picked up in the contrasting mini. So, if you are more of someone who doesn't want such a high contrast as this one, amethyst might be a really good option for you because it's the same color as in the speckles. And I think this would be beautiful, honestly, like in a pure vanilla sock or also in like any kind of textured sock pattern. The third one that we have might possibly be my favorite, but really I love all three of them. And it's called Hydrangea. And it's this. So this is a cream, sort of a cream base. And then there are hot pink and violet speckles and a little bit of green. Camera's not focusing. And a little bit of green. And it's all tied together with this dusty pink colorway in the contrasting mini. And I think it's an absolutely gorgeous color combination. So those are the three that we'll have available from her as sock sets. Yeah, all of them will be available in pretty limited quantities, especially the sock sets, and I hope you really, really like them. Let's move on to the next yarn company. The next one that I want to share with you is a yarn company that we've worked with quite a bit in the past, and they're so good and they're just getting better and better and better. I'm speaking about Garth Moore, who are run by mom and son duo, Johnny and Sally from Wales in UK. They are completely GOTS certified, so all of their yarns are GOTS certified. And they actually, which I think is a really cool thing, worked in the beginning of the 2000s with the Soil Association, the certifying body in the UK, to develop the certification for GOTS for wool spun yarns, so spun wool yarns, because that didn't exist before. Everything that I do is with such a dedication to sustainability. The way that they source their fleece, the way that they think about the production process, who they work with in the production process, how they package their yarns, and also the fact that they offset all of their CO2 emissions. They're a climate positive company now, which means they are sort of sequestering more CO2 than they emit. And they also started planting a tree for every skein that I sell, which I think is super, super cool. The yarns are stunning. Oh my God, they're so good. We'll have 4 bases by Garth Moore, and I'm going to start with their number 1, which is their single ply lace weight yarn, and we'll have that available in 2 colors. The left one, the lighter one, is called Shale, and the right one, the darker one, is called Smoke. And you can see how good it is. It's super nice, it's super soft, it's a single ply yarn out of 100% breed specific wool, so every skein can be traced back to the flocks that it came from. And the way that they achieve the different colors, because all of this base is undyed, is just by blending different proportions of the different fleeces. All of the yarn in this and in any of their yarns is 100% organic, and it's super fun because both of these are 100% organic Shetland, and it says here that it's Shetland from Wiltshire and Somerset, England, and I hope I pronounce this right, Ceredigion and Wales. So yeah, it's super fun. You might be a bit like, oh, why are you adding a single ply lace weight to the lineup? This is quite an unusual yarn. Has a very, very specific reason. That is called unfolding. So if you've been following us for a while, you know that in issue 3, we published this stunning shawl by Sari Nordlund called Unfolding. It's a slightly asymmetrical but almost triangular shawl, knit in Garth Moore's number 1, and it has a beautiful lace pattern at the border, and a gorgeous body. And this we're adding specifically to the shop for everyone who wants to knit unfolding. It would also be great, honestly, for any other lightweight shawl or neck accessory, and even lightweight sweaters. And if you are one of the people like me who actually really like the current thing of holding a lace weight with something fuzzy, this also works really well for that. So Garth Moore is number 1 in shale and smoke. The second base that we'll have available by them is their number 3. That is their DK weight yarn. That we'll have in 3 shades. We'll have it in a natural creamy white called Chalk. We'll have it in a light gray called Boulder. And we'll have it in a darker, a little bit warmer gray called Smoke. It's a classic DK weight, and it works super well for basically everything. From stockinette, through cables, through texture, works super well with everything. What I really love is sharing the way that this yarn is made, because Garth Moore gets everything spun up to singles, which they then, as I just said, sell as their number 1. What they have on their property, on their farm in Wales, is they have a winding and a twisting and applying machine. So in order to come up with these, they take 3 plies of the number 1 and ply them together. And that way, by combining all of the gorgeous colors that they have of number 1, they can then also create the colors of number 3. And I think it's such a cool way of actually, you know, controlling your yarn production and making sure that it is to your standards. If you take the single ply lace weight and then transform it into the different yarns that you're offering. So yeah, this is Garth Moore's number 3, and I swatched this in stockinette, which is really nice. It's a super nice workhorse yarn, but I also wanted to show you how it looks like in a swatch. So this is the cable pattern from Sauvage Ballon, the sweater by Jessica Gore from Woods, and I just wanted to show you that because the cables show up beautifully in this yarn. So if you have a copy of Woods available and you are in the market for a cable sweater, and Sauvage Ballon would be a great fit for number 3. The third yarn that we'll have from Garth Moore is a yarn that they very recently relaunched, and it is also a DK weight yarn. Some of it is undyed, and other colorways are dyed. And I have to say, it's kind of become one of my favorite yarns. It's their Beacons base, and it's so good. So this is one of their newer bases that they sort of reworked a little bit and just did a big relaunch, and it's one of the softest yarns that I've ever touched, with so great stitch definition, and the colorways are just absolutely amazing. So we'll have 5 colorways available of Beacons. We'll have Marble, that is this gorgeous creamy with a tiny bit of gray, and this is 75% Polwarth, 22% Romney, and then 3% other Romney. Maybe it's even 3% Hebridean, I don't know. I'll have to ask Johnny. But by changing up the blend, they're able to achieve different colors like they do for the number 1 and number 3. So whereas Marble is more on the cream side, Cinder is more on the light gray side. It's a light marled gray. I think that would be super stunning in just any kind of sweater, really. Both of them would be. And Cinder is 75% Polwarth again, then 15% Romney and 10% Hebridean, which I think gives it the darker colorway. Again, completely organic certified, and yeah, really good yarn. We'll have 3 dyed colorways available, and we couldn't resist. I mean, if you've been following us for a while, you know that, we love mints, we love corals and pinks, and we love yellows, and those are so good. Honestly, all of the colorways are so good. It was super hard to pick. So This gorgeous yellow one is called Gorse. The middle pink one is called Koi. And the minty one is called Lichen. All three are dyed on a gray base. I believe they're dyed on cinder. And again, this gives the colors so much depth. It's super, super beautiful. And it's a great yarn, honestly, for everything that you want in it. It is the yarn that we used in its previous iteration for Take Flight, the balloon pattern that Claire wrote up for our kids collection. And it would really work well for any sort of accessory or garment, be it for adults or kids, that requires a DK weight yarn. It's super good, it's super soft, perfect for baby knits as well. The last base that we'll have is something that I'm really excited about, because I love natural sock yarns, as you might have been able to tell from my gushing about Woolen Twine Sustainable Sock. And Garth Moore recently launched their very own sock yarn that's called Snowdonia Sock. And it's a classic sock yarn with quite a bit of twist. And we'll have this one in 2 colorways. And oh my God, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Glaslyn, this is the lighter gray, and Bala, which is a darker gray, and this is slightly marled. Both of them have quite a bit of halo, so they would work well, I think, for any type of sock with a bigger stitch pattern. A small stitch pattern might get a little bit lost. I'm very tempted to knit a pair of cacti socks from issue 5 with these. So yeah, those are the colorways and the yarns that we'll have from Garth Moore, and I'm super happy that we get to carry them because they're amazing. Moving on to the next indie dyer. When I started putting together my list of yarns that I wanted to work with for the pop-up shop, one of the things that was really important for me was that we thought we were able to fill a gap in the market. So as you know, for especially smaller indie dyers, for quite a lot of them, it can be really hard and tricky doing wholesale. And that's because of a couple of different things. Usually, wholesale just requires a different margin because especially if you're a brick and mortar shop, you obviously also have overhead costs that you need to factor into your prices. And in order to keep the price sort of at a reasonable level, they also require a certain discount if they buy from a yarn company. And usually that discount does not work for smaller dyers, which often leads to them not working with retailers at all, or only working with a few very select ones, and then only doing that, sometimes at a margin that is not sustainable for the smaller dyers. The other reason is that often there will be requirements from their stockists for certain amounts of yarn or restock availability, and all of that, as you know, if you're like a 1 or 2 or even 3 person operation, it can get a little tricky. At the same time, I think wholesale can be a great way for smaller companies to get their products in front of more people, and in turn then create a lot of demand, which then allows them to scale up their operation if that is something that they want to do. And if they are able to do that, then that also means that they might be able to purchase the raw materials in bigger quantities, which usually means a little bit of a reduction in their cost. And then in turn, it gets easier for them to work with stockists again. But in order to get there, this intermediate step of you maybe need a couple of wholesale clients in order to drive up your production in a way that then makes it possible for you to have more. That step was kind of missing. And that is something that we wanted to fill. And so I'm super happy that we get to work with quite a few of the smaller companies that usually don't do a lot of wholesale, and hopefully also help them a little bit in their process. And I just I love them so much, and yeah, so I'm super happy about that. So the next yarn dyer and yarn company that I want to show falls exactly into that category. It's my dear friend Anne from New York, who runs Oysters and Pearls, and will have 2 of her bases in the shop in very, very limited quantities. The first one that I want to share is her Romney Merino Decay base. And this is the one colorway that we'll have available. It's called Tough, and it's a super gorgeous, say a light brown caramel creamy colorway. It shows up pretty accurately on the screen. It's slightly on the pinkish side, and it is a beautiful yarn that has quite a high twist. And we're adding this specifically because Am designed a gorgeous cardigan for it from our issue 1 that's called Fluent. Has this gorgeous open front and cable panel featured both on the back and on the sides of the front. And so the Romney Merino Decay is perfect for that. The other base that we'll have from Oysters and Pearls is their Corriedale Sport, and we'll have that in 4 gorgeous colorways that are inspired by Am's homeland, Armenia. So from lightest to darkest, this is Yerevan Fog. It's a super beautiful pale gray, slight variegation. Apricot, apricotty coral, the color of pomegranates, a darker coral, and Lake Sivan, a super beautiful dark blue with a little bit of tonal variation in there. The Corriedale Sport is a sport weight. It comes in at 282 meters on 100 grams, and it's a true workhorse yarn as well. I've knit my hay sweater by Clear Mountain Manipod in this, and it's been absolutely one of my favorite things that I've ever knit, and I wear this all of the time when it's not 35 degrees like it's today. This is also great for kids knits, and I know that Am has also paired it with a little bit of fuzz, like a silk mohair, if you want to have something a bit fuzzy. So that also works super well with that. I swatched it in the color of pomegranates in stockinette, just to show you. And then I also thought it would be perfect for Claire's Northbound cardigan from issue 3. I'll show you a picture in a second, but can we just talk about how good this is? I love how the yarn works with the stitch pattern. It's so, so beautiful. Northbound is a boxy drop shoulder cardigan. With a shawl collar. And it would work beautifully with a Corriedale Sport. That was our 3rd yarn company. The 4th one that I want to share with you is again a dyer from the UK, like Garth Moore. And I'm super, super happy that we're able to carry her yarn. She is one of my favorite people on the planet, but also she's a great yarn dyer and is super, super mindful when it comes to sustainability. All of her yarns are sourced super close to where she lives. All of the sheep that whose fleeces are used in the yarn graze on the Mendip Hills, and she has the yarns then spun up in the UK and hand dyes them all in her home studio. You might have guessed who I'm about to present to you. Marina Skeet. We'll have 2 of Marina's bases in the shop. I want to start with her 4-ply, which we'll have. So we'll have the 4-ply and the decay in exactly the same shades, but you'll see in a second that they're slightly different in the color, and that's because the color of the base yarn that she dyes on is different. So those are the colors of the 4-ply that we'll have. Oops, go away. Aren't they stunning? So starting with the undyed base, this is called Sheep. So this is a woolen spun classic 4-ply yarn, and you can see that the natural color is this really gorgeous heathery beigey brown. And this is what she uses to dye. So this is what she calls her stormy base. And all of the colors that we carry are dyed on this base. So they have this depth and like a little bit of a heathery effect to them. The next color that I want to show you is called Bloom, and this is one of my favorite colorways of all times. It's this gorgeous, slightly acidy yellow, and it's absolutely stunning. I knit a hat in this a good few years ago, and it's still my favorite hat to date. We'll also have a wonderful pink that is called Rose. So it has a little bit of variation in it. And it is a super, super beautiful colorway, I think. Next up in line is Teal. Gorgeous sea green. That is super, super, super stunning. I don't even know what else to say to this. Ooh, that was actually the decay weight that I showed you. So this is it on the 4-ply. I was like, the yarn looks heavier. So this is it on the 4-ply. And then the last colorway that we'll have available is called Night. And this is a deep, dark blue. So you can see, like, I'm wearing a black shirt. It's not black, it is blue. And it's a really good blue. And I know this because I love blue. So all of these colors together, they are perfect for color work, but they're also perfect for any kinds of accessories, which is why we are stocking them in like this variation of color. This is a knit in stockinette, and you can see the nice variation, you know, the little heathery effect here. And I also swatched a portion of the contour tie hat pattern from issue 2 that is designed for this yarn, so you can see how it looks like knit up with a bit more texture, and I absolutely love it. So any kinds of accessory works well for this, or also a lightweight sweater. The DK weight, as I said, comes in the same colorways, but I'll show you a side-by-side comparison in a second. All of them though are dyed on this natural base. So this is the Sheep in the DK, and this is a true natural gray. So if you compare, this is the base, the undyed base from the 4-ply, and this is the undyed base from the DK, you can kind of gauge why there are slight differences in the colorways. Bloom on DK is super, super stunning. It's a little more green than in the 4-ply. So for example, if you are sort of more into the mustardy greens, this might be right up your alley. Then there's Rose. Rose is pretty close, a little bit cooler in the DK weight, as is Teal. So you can always see, like, I mean, because the natural base that it's dyed on is gray, the DK weight colors are a little bit cooler. And then this is Night side by side, and there you barely see the difference. The DK weight is honestly a desert island yarn. You can basically knit everything with it. It's a true gauge wonder, and it is perfect for color work, which is why I took the Sheep, so the natural gray, and the Teal, and swatched a little portion of Marina's own Sarcactus pattern that we published in issue 4 with it. And so just to show you, and it was super fun. And yeah, I absolutely love it. Like, especially, you know, if you're thinking these two together, or even for a low contrast version, these two. Oh my God, look at these two. Oh, so good. So, Marina Skeet, all sourced, spun, hand dyed in UK. Super lovely, very, very versatile yarns. The last yarn company that we'll have is a yarn company from Denmark. And we added this one with a very, very specific pattern in mind. And that was the most popular pattern from issue 5. Our bindweed sweater. So you'll be able to get the yarn for this in the shop now. The yarn that I'm talking about is Knitting for Olive. So Knitting for Olive is a family-run business based in Copenhagen, and they're really mindful with where they source their yarn. We'll carry 2 bases. Their merino base, which is a light fingering weight, and for bindweed it's held together with their soft silk mohair, which is a 70% mohair and 30% silk standard. And the mohair and silk, it was really important to us that this was sourced responsibly, which they do. So all of the mohair is grown in South Africa, and it is all certified to reach standards in the yarn production. And it is also certified as RMS standard, which is responsible mohair standard. So mohair can be a bit tricky because the conditions of the Angora goats can be not great. So we were super happy to be able to offer those yarns to you. And the merino that is used in their merino base comes from a single organic farm in Patagonia in Argentina, where mulesing is not allowed, so it also comes with really high animal welfare standards. We'll have these 2 bases in 6 colorways. The merino one, I'm just going to show you 2 at a time. We'll have in powder, which is this gorgeous cream beigey color. Then the next one is rose clay, a dusty pink. We'll also have plum rose, mustard, which is this really, really pretty glowing yellow. And we'll have 2 blues. We'll have dusty aqua and deep petroleum blue. For the silk mohair, we'll have coordinating colors. So again, starting with the lightest one, we'll have cloud, then we'll have rose clay, a super beautiful, really dusty pink. We'll have plum rose on the silk mohair, and we'll have dusty honey on the silk mohair. And last but not least, we'll also have dusty aqua and dusty petroleum blue on the silk mohair. So no matter whether you want to do what we did for the sample and I did here for the swatch, which was combining 2 slightly different colorways, you can do that. But also if you are more like, okay, I want to have the same colorway in my merino and in the soft silk mohair, that's also perfectly doable with the yarns that we'll have available. So these are the yarns that these are the colorways that we used in the original sample, and those are powder in the merino, and then plum rose in the silk mohair. I personally am knitting a version of bindweed in these 2 colorways. So this is plum rose in the merino and rose clay in the soft silk mohair. But you can also, if you want to have, for example, a dusty pink version, combine, this is the exact same colorway, rose clay on both bases. If you want to have something a bit more vibrant, maybe go for a yellow version. I've seen a gorgeous yellow version, and I've also seen a super, super pretty sort of tealy aqua version that kind of reminded me of these two together. Or even, you know, you could do the darker blue and then the lighter soft silk mohair. So a lot of different color combinations. Do let us know if you need help picking out colorways. Like, we're super happy to just put together a couple of side-by-side photos for you and share them with you. Those are the 5 yarn companies, and I'm so excited that they're now live and that you can get them and that we can share them with you. It's been such a long-standing dream of mine to be able to offer yarns, and I think sustainably sourced yarns, you know that they're all coming from really good places. When you buy from us, you can combine your order that you would have previously placed with a couple of different dyers, get them all shipped eco-friendly here from Berlin, so you're safe on shipping, safe on all of the admin, and hopefully, you know, enjoy the things that you'll be making with them. You can get all of these yarns now in our web shop, and as I said, we're super happy to help with any questions. So if you're not sure whether a yarn would be a good fit for a specific pattern that you like, or if you want to see some side-by-side comparisons of certain colorways, if you're pondering, just send us an email and we'd be more than happy to help. I hope to see you in the web shop and on Instagram and in our email inbox. And if you liked what you saw here, give this video a thumbs up. Ooh, and before I forget, I wanted to ask what your favorite yarn and colorway was, just for fun. Just let me know in the comments down below which one you loved the most. We'll be back here in 2 weeks from now with our next regular podcast episode. Until then, take good care, stay safe, and bye-bye.